Beneath the stone halls of Crete, a living nightmare breathed in the dark. The Minotaur, half man, half bull, stalked the endless labyrinth, its hunger sharpened by years of blood and isolation. Innocent bodies were thrown into the maze, their screams swallowed by twisting corridors of stone. Born from a god's punishment and a king's arrogance, the Minotaur was not merely a beast, but a curse made flesh. Proof that when humans defy the gods, monsters are the result. The Minotaur is one of the most famous and terrifying creatures of Greek mythology. Known as a monster with the body of a man and the head of a bull, the Minotaur lived at the center of an enormous maze called the Labyrinth, where it fed on human sacrifices. This creature is not just a monster from an ancient story, but a powerful symbol that has survived for thousands of years, representing themes such as savagery versus civilization, punishment for arrogance, and the struggle between reason and instinct. The myth of the Minotaur combines divine punishment, human suffering, and heroic courage, making it one of the most enduring legends of ancient Greece. Origins and history of the myth. The Minotaur's story originates in ancient Greek mythology, particularly connected to the island of Crete. The myth was most famously recorded by writers such as Apollodorus, Plutarch, and Ovid, though it likely existed as an oral tradition long before it was written down. Crete was a powerful civilization during the Bronze Age, and many historians believe the myth may reflect real historical memories of Cretan dominance over mainland Greece. At the center of the Minotaur myth is King Minos of Crete, a ruler who claimed that his authority came directly from the gods. To prove his right to rule, Minos prayed to Poseidon, the god of the sea, who sent a magnificent white bull rising from the ocean. Minos promised to sacrifice the bull to Poseidon as an offering. However, when he saw how beautiful and powerful the animal was, Minos decided to keep it and sacrifice a different bull instead. This act of deception angered Poseidon, who decided to punish Minos in a cruel and unusual way. The birth of the Minotaur. Poseidon's punishment did not fall directly on Minos, but instead on his wife, Queen Pasiphae. The god caused Pasiphae to become cursed with an unnatural desire for the sacred bull. Desperate and ashamed, she sought the help of Daedalus, a brilliant inventor and craftsman. Daedalus constructed a hollow wooden cow covered in real hide, allowing Pasiphae to hide inside it and mate with the bull. From this unnatural union, the Minotaur was born. The creature was named Asterion, though it became widely known as the Minotaur, meaning Bull of Minos. From birth, the Minotaur was violent and uncontrollable, possessing immense strength and a hunger for human flesh. King Minos could not kill the creature because it was considered a divine punishment, but he also could not allow it to roam freely. The Labyrinth. To contain the Minotaur, Minos ordered Daedalus to build the Labyrinth, a massive, complex maze so intricate that no one who entered it could find their way out. The Labyrinth was not simply a winding path, but a structure designed to confuse and trap anyone inside forever. At its center lived the Minotaur, isolated from the world and driven mad by hunger and confinement. The labyrinth itself became a powerful symbol in Greek mythology, representing confusion, fear, and the dangers of losing one's way, both physically and morally. Some scholars believe the labyrinth may have been inspired by the complex palace structures of ancient Crete, particularly the Palace of Knossos, which featured many rooms, corridors, and levels. The Athenian tribute. The Minotaur's most famous role comes from the story of Athens' tribute to Crete. According to the myth, Minos' son Androgeus was killed while visiting Athens, either murdered or sent to his death out of jealousy. In revenge, Minos waged war on Athens and eventually forced the city to submit. As punishment, Athens was required to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete every 9 years, or, in some versions, every year. These youths were thrown into the labyrinth to be devoured by the Minotaur. This part of the myth highlights the Minotaur not just as a monster, but as an instrument of political oppression and fear. The creature represents the suffering of innocent people and the cruelty of tyrannical power. Theseus and the slaying of the Minotaur. The most famous myth involving the Minotaur is the story of Theseus, a hero and prince of Athens. Determined to end the terror once and for all, Theseus volunteered to be one of the sacrificial youths. Before entering the labyrinth, he caught the attention of Ariadne, King Minos' daughter, who fell in love with him. Wanting to help Theseus survive, Ariadne secretly gave him a ball of thread, known as Ariadne's thread. As Theseus entered the labyrinth, he tied one end of the thread to the entrance and unwound it as he moved deeper into the maze. When he finally encountered the Minotaur, Theseus fought and killed the creature, either with his bare hands, a sword, or a club, depending on the version of the myth. After defeating the monster, Theseus followed the thread back out of the labyrinth, saving himself and the other captives. The death of the Minotaur symbolized the triumph of intelligence, bravery, and civilization over brute force and chaos. Appearance and physical description. The Minotaur is traditionally described as having the body of a muscular man and the head of a bull, including horns, a snout, and fierce eyes. Ancient artwork often depicts it as towering and powerful, emphasizing its physical dominance. Its bull features connect it to themes of strength, fertility, and wildness, while its human body reminds viewers that it is not merely an animal, but a twisted reflection of humanity. In some depictions, the Minotaur is covered in coarse hair, while in others it appears more human-like, increasing its unsettling nature. The creature's roar, immense strength, and appetite for human flesh make it one of the most fearsome monsters in Greek mythology. Symbolism and meaning. The Minotaur is rich in symbolism. One of its most common interpretations is that it represents the animal instincts within humans: rage, desire, and violence, unchecked by reason or morality. The labyrinth can be seen as the human mind, with the Minotaur lurking at its center as our darkest impulses. The myth also reflects the consequences of hubris, or excessive pride. King Minos' refusal to honor his promise to Poseidon leads directly to the creation of the monster. In this sense, the Minotaur is a living reminder of divine punishment and the dangers of defying the gods. Another interpretation views the Minotaur as a tragic figure, born from a curse, imprisoned for life, and denied any chance of redemption. The creature can be seen as a victim rather than a villain. This perspective adds emotional depth to the myth and has inspired many modern retellings. Cultural impact and legacy. The Minotaur has remained a powerful figure in art, literature, and popular culture for centuries. Ancient Greek artists depicted the creature on pottery, mosaics, and sculptures. During the Renaissance and modern periods, writers and artists reinterpreted the Minotaur as a symbol of inner conflict, alienation, and suffering. In modern literature, authors such as Jorge Luis Borges have explored the Minotaur's perspective, portraying it as lonely and misunderstood. The creature has also appeared in films, video games, fantasy novels, and role-playing games, often reimagined in new ways while retaining its core mythological identity. Conclusion: the Minotaur is far more than a simple monster. Its myth combines divine punishment, human error, political power, and heroic courage into a story that has endured for thousands of years. From its tragic birth to its violent death at the hands of Theseus, the Minotaur represents the struggle between civilization and chaos, reason and instinct, and justice and cruelty. Whether viewed as a terrifying beast or a misunderstood victim, the Minotaur remains one of the most complex and fascinating figures in Greek mythology.